Hello, everybody, and welcome back to The Howl. My name is Ryan Antonucci, and joining me today in the studio is William Haynes, Jack Foster, Quentin Bursch, and Johnny Fahey to discuss the 7A state football bracket that just got released this past Saturday. So, how are we doing today, guys? How are we feeling about this bracket that we saw?
I'm pretty excited for the Huskies here, not going to lie.
Yeah, we saw the bracket Prospect, a big game coming up. We lost them in season. We're hoping to win to them out of season. How do you think that game is going to go? First game of the bracket.
Well, we'll get there. We're first going to make our way through the bracket. We're going to talk about some key games, some key matchups. We got two football players here. We understand you guys know a lot about the game, know a lot about the teams that will be facing in 7A here. Right off the bat, we'll start with you, Jack. What is the team that you think could pull off some big upsets, make their way pretty deep into the state playoffs?
If I'm talking deep into the playoffs, I feel like I know we probably have a bad history with this team, but Downers Grove North, they were very good throughout the season. They have a slightly, I wouldn't call it an easy section of the bracket, but they have a very winnable section of the bracket. They play Wheaton Warrenville South in the first round of the playoffs, who we're also familiar with, but I feel like that's a game that they could also win.
Yeah, definitely. Downers Grove North, if you look at that whole sectional regional area, you know, they got Batavia, Brother Rice, Downers Grove North. That's obviously the very most difficult part of this whole bracket. But before we get there, let's talk about our Hersey's first round matchup, Prospect. And Hersey already lost to Prospect, if you remember, a couple weeks ago. This week, they traveled back to Prospect to play him in state. Johnny, I know that you're pretty excited about this game here. You think this is probably the best possible matchup we could have gotten out of these top 15 seeds.
Well,
why is that?
Knowing that this is my last year watching Hersey football, like as a student, playing Prospect in the playoffs after a loss is pretty exciting because if we win, then bragging rights over every single one of my friends over at Prospect for the rest of my life. But this is going to be a really good game, two really good teams. But I think the Huskies are going to come out on top this year. What do you think, Ryan?
In my opinion, I think Hershey's going to win just because, I said it in one of the broadcasts. I think if we play Prospect, we win 8 out of 10 times. We looked better at them at some points. We had trouble stopping them, and obviously they hit like a 50-yard kick, which ended up winning them that game. So, I don't know. I think this time both teams know each other better, and I think with the Huskies knowing what Prospect's going to do this week, I think I'm going to give it to the Huskies this week. What about you guys? You guys are obviously on the team. I mean, I don't want you to spoil any game plans or anything, but what do you think your odds are compared to 3 weeks ago?
Well, I feel like a big in-depth aspect of what happened the first time is I feel like we lost that special teams battle, and that's something that Coach Kuhn, who's our special teams coordinator, he's big on preaching that, and he said we played very well in terms of the special teams game, but we lost it because, I mean, at the end of the day, they had a 50-yard field goal. We had a 9-yard punt. They had some good returns. Like, we struggled to get a return. It was just that aspect of, like, and it's not even me being biased as a kicker, but, like, it's the fact that if you win a game on the special teams side of the game, then you're most likely going to win. So I think if we block a kick, if we get a kick return, if we get a stop inside the 20 on kickoff, like, that's a huge thing in terms of momentum, and I feel like that's could make the difference come Friday night.
Yeah, and also Prospect hasn't shown that they can stop a running game. So I think we had 400 yards of offense. That's not bad for a team to lose a game. Like, I think the Huskies are going to come out top if we can stop them, we can stop their kicker, and everything.
All right. Well, that sounds good coming from the football guys. We obviously, you want to beat your rival, especially in the playoffs, but in any game. So, all right. So let's look at this bracket here. We got our 1 seed is Whitney Young. Not a team that you would normally see as a 1 seed, but don't forget it goes by record and then it goes by opponent wins. It's the second like tiebreaker between teams who are undefeated or have 1 loss or 2 losses. So we have an interesting first matchup. We have Whitney Young versus Kenwood. Kenwood historically a pretty strong team. They're 4-5 this year. Whitney Young, I got to be honest, I don't know much about them, but
Me either.
they're the 1 seed. They're 9-0. But when I was researching stuff last night, I saw that Kenwood only lost by a point to Whitney Young this year. So I think it's possible that we see a rare 32-1 upset early in the state playoffs. What do we think here?
Did you say that they were 4-5?
Yeah, Kenwood's 4-5. Remember
That's
last year?
That's 2 years in a
Yeah.
row. That's the first 2 times that's ever happened.
Because last year Buffalo Grove got in as a 4-5 team. What is that tie? Is it the same tiebreaker?
It was based on their schedule because their schedule was BG's schedule last year was
tough.
one of the hardest in the
Uh-huh.
entire state. So they gave them that. They ended up losing to Mount Carmel first round though, I think, right?
Yeah, they got killed by Mount Carmel.
Yeah.
But Mount Carmel's a 1 seed at that point. Now it's Whitney Young, who I don't know if they're as strong as Mount Carmel or other 1 seeds. What do we think?
Yeah, no, Whitney Young, they haven't played that many good teams. Obviously, like the Chicago Public School League, those teams aren't as competitive as they used to be anymore. Those are both CPS schools. But if you look at Kenwood's you look at their schedule, they've played teams like St. Francis and Nazareth and Simeon, who are all very good. Like 2 Catholic schools on there. I think that's what kind of squeaked them in. And obviously, a 6-point loss to St. Francis is not bad because St. Francis is definitely one of the top teams in the state this year.
Yeah, I had Kenwood winning that game. I don't know if anybody else really looked at this bracket yet or had the opportunity to. But we'll do a little. How about we say what we think our final 4 is going to be? The final 4 teams. Does everybody have the bracket up?
I don't
I actually, I don't have the bracket
don't
up
currently
either.
have it
All right, we'll get that one up. And do you guys have it up yet?
Yeah, I have my final
Okay,
4.
so I guess I'll start with me. My final 4, I have Jacobs, Brother Rice, St. Rita, and Mount Carmel. That's my final 4. And I have Brother Rice, Mount Carmel in the state championship. And Brother Rice actually previously beat Mount Carmel this year. It's one of Mount Carmel's 3 losses. But I have Mount Carmel winning the state championship again.
I can low-key see Mount Carmel losing in the second round to St. Charles North. I think St. Charles North is a good team. But, my final 4 is probably going to be Jacobs, Batavia, St. Rita, and I don't really...
Sorry.
Mount Carmel.
Yeah,
Brother
there's some good early
Yeah.
matchups here. St. Rita, they don't have an easy. I guess we'll call it a sectional. Mount Carmel, St. Charles North, they have to play each other early on. Those are probably 2 of the best teams in the states.
Yeah.
And then there's a ton of others. There's a lot of good lower seeds this year, which we see often. Johnny, are you looking at that bracket over there?
I'm giving it a look over here right now.
Okay, we'll get you some time. I know we have Quentin looking at the bracket here.
I haven't looked at these teams as much as you guys have, but you have Mount Carmel winning it all, and then you have Kenwood beating Chicago. Can you explain why you have the underdogs coming out here and taking it?
So I just showed Quentin my bracket. I have Kenwood beating Whitney Young, not Chicago. That just says Chicago next to their name.
Excuse me.
You're good. So I have. If you look at the bracket, it goes like it says Arlington Heights, Hersey.
Yeah,
And it
yeah,
says
yeah.
Chicago, Whitney Young. So I get where you made the mistake. But I have Kenwood beating them early on. Kenwood's had, if you look at Kenwood's record, they've had a harder schedule. They've played, like Jack said, a lot of private schools. Kenwood's just played city schools, and also Kenwood only lost by a point to Whitney Young. And, I can't say that if I'm saying that Hersey's going to beat Prospect, who we lost by 3 points early on, I can't say that Kenwood's going to lose to Whitney Young when they only lost by a point. So I have Kenwood in that matchup. I also have another upset I have here. I have Hoffman Estates over Lincoln Park High School.
I agree with that one.
Hoffman notoriously isn't that strong. They're an MSL West team, but Lincoln Park also just hasn't played anybody worth noting. I mean, I think they lost to Lane, or they beat Lane Tech 3-0. And Lane Tech isn't even that good.
No.
So that was one of the other upsets I had. And I'm looking through here to see if I have anything else. No, I didn't really have that many upsets following this, but as we go later into the bracket, I obviously have Jacobs going far. I have them beating Lincoln Way Central in my quarterfinals. So,
I think I got my finals.
all right,
here.
what's your finals?
I got DGN versus Jacobs. I think those are going to be the 2.
All
In
teams
your
are-
state championship?
No. in the
Oh, in the
semifinals, Final
semifinals,
Four, and then I got the Huskies versus St. Rita there in the
Yeah, the Huskies
Final
versus
Four.
St.
Huskies
Rita's
all the way.
Final Four.
Huskies all the way.
You
to
have
the
us
Final
winning the
Four.
state championship.
See,
We can't let's not get crazy. I'm thinking Final Four. Though.
I think us beating Mount Carmel might be a little crazy,
I think beating Prospect after we beat Prospect this week, I think Normal is a very beatable team, and then upset hunting against Mount Carmel, and that's after that should be not that bad trying to get into the state championship.
all right, let's
gotta win that game.
Let's do some college game day style like super dog pick. What you guys see that before? What do we got? Who's your super dog this state tournament?
I'm gonna be honest. I have no clue what a super dog is.
in the first round alone.
Yeah, we'll just start with the first round.
Okay. Well, I think my super dog pick is.
It's like let me explain. It's like the team that's like the underdog. Like you're gonna take like in betting terms, it'd be like the spread. We understand. You got it.
Yeah.
All
I got you.
I don't know if I would consider this an underdog, but I think Lincoln West Central is going to take it over Maine West, and I think, obviously, probably the best game in this bracket in the first round is probably Fenwick versus Brother Rice. Those are two teams that are they're generation annual powerhouses. They always play each other in the Catholic League. Both really good. I think that'll be a really good game.
So is the dog you're taking?
Oh, the dog I'm taking is
Brother Rice, or
it's still Lincoln Way Central, but
Yeah.
I wouldn't consider. I would take one of those, but I wouldn't consider that one to be like an upset.
That's fair. Yeah.
All right. Will.
I think Lincoln Way West can beat Pekin. I don't see Pekin going far at all.
Yeah, and Pekin only beat Rolling Meadows by I think 21 points earlier this year. That I think they severely underperformed last year in the state playoffs. So I didn't have them going that far either. Pekin. What do we got, Johnny? Who's your super dog?
Give me Kenwood.
Kenwood.
Yeah.
How far you got him
Upset
going?
seed. I'll give him 2 rounds.
We give him 2 rounds.
I think. Well, they got to face Jacobs second round. I don't know. Maybe just one, but
Yeah,
they'll get a win against Whitney Young.
Jacob
It's a one
runs
seed.
Jacobs. They run that really difficult wing tee offense. I mean, a lot of teams in here are like Hersey's very familiar with, like Batavia, Downers Grove North, Wheaton Warrenville South, Jacobs, Argo even. I don't know if you guys remember Argo.
That was 2
Don't
years
remind
ago.
me of DGN and
Oh, trust me,
Batavia, those
I
were
don't want
terrible.
to.
Yeah, but if you look at that top
I don't
section
want to say it anymore. Than
with
you do.
Whitney Young, Jacobs, Lincoln Park, and Maine West, I would argue that that's a pretty easy. Like I think Hersey would come out of that if we
this
were
is-
in there.
This is the difficult thing about 7A is you have one section of the bracket that's generationally easy, and then you have one where it's literally like you have powerhouses, Batavia, DGN, Fenwick, and Brother Rice all in the same bracket.
Yeah.
And then the next one is all like teams that are either down south or way far west.
I
and then
wouldn't
there's
say
St. Rita.
I wouldn't say generationally easy. Like there's some tough games in there. There's obviously an easier side, but I think
Well, yeah, I will agree with Jack is definitely like the sectional that we're in and the sectional that with DGN, Brother Rice, Fenwick are much more harder than than everywhere else.
Yes.
If we were 1 seed higher, I think we would have had. Well, we might have needed to play St. Rita, but
you did the math on that, didn't you?
I did do the math.
We
on
were
that.
supposed to be 21.
We were supposed to be 21. I mean, I didn't really check my math, but I'm pretty confident that we were supposed to be 21. and we
So
weren't
our
supposed
theory is they put us against Prospect for ticket sales.
to. Yeah, that's my theory.
That's fine.
I like that.
I'm okay with that.
I'd take Prospect over Fenwick.
Yeah.
All right, we never got your super dog.
Looking at all these teams, I'm not going to pick any of the crazy ones like Rolling Meadows or Guilford or Collinsville, but I think the only one that hasn't been said yet is Hersey. I mean, we're the upset against Prospect. That'd be great for all of us. We all think it's going to happen. I think that's the next one up
Well,
there.
I think we're saying it wouldn't even be an upset.
yeah.
Is that-
Yeah, no,
is that-
I
There you go.
don't.
I looked at the Slosh thing last night, and I was expecting like it to be in favor of Prospect, and it's in favor of us. Which I mean, me personally, I
have
like
like
to be
a
underdogs.
64% chance according to those votes.
I just realized that Rolling Meadows made playoffs this year. I did not know that.
Yeah, I guess we should
Did
go over
not
that.
expect that at all.
We should go over like the teams from the MSL East West who are in the state playoffs.
3 MSL East.
We have 3 MSL East teams, which is pretty. We normally have like 3 teams.
Yeah, about BG last
Yeah,
year and Prospect, obviously,
So
last year.
it's
St.
so
Charles North is a
St.
very good
Charles
team.
North Meadows. Obviously, St. Charles North will take that one from. We watched that Meadows game. That wasn't anything special, and it's unfortunate that Hersey and Prospect have to play each other early on because I feel like we typically kind of once there's like only one MSL East team remaining, you tend to like root for that one team to like represent your conference.
I disagree.
Unless it's Prospect.
Yeah, no, I disagree. I think it's great that we matched up with them right
No.
off the start because I want them out as soon as possible.
And then you also have Hoffman Estates, we mentioned earlier, going up against. Wait, I forgot. Who are they going up against?
Lincoln Park.
Lincoln Park, yeah, Lincoln Park.
I think they win specifically because of their quarterback. I know the kid from TNT, Nathan Cleveland. He's a very good athlete, can throw the ball very well. I think he'll lead them to that win.
And then looking at 8A, Schaumburg High School is playing Naperville Central. I don't know much about Schaumburg or Naperville Central.
I don't know.
Cousin
But-
that plays for Central, they're really good every year.
Naperville Central. Okay, so I think I could pretty confidently say that Naperville Central is going to take that game. We have Fremd versus Andrew High School in Tinley Park. Fremd's had a really strong year this year. I think that they could be a team that could potentially make it pretty far in the bracket. Palatine plays Warren High School. Warren, that's a team that we saw earlier this year. They had that really good running back.
I actually know a couple of kids on Palatine, and unfortunately last week against Barrington, the quarterback broke his arm.
The
getting
Palatine?
tackled. Yeah, the Palatine quarterback broke his arm. But they do have their backup guy because the quarterback currently transferred over, so they have their older guy, and they're gonna play him and they'll be fine, they think. But they're confident that they're gonna smoke Warren, and they want to go against Barrington
Yeah.
again because they're not happy about him breaking his arm.
I also have a bunch of friends that go to Palatine because I play volleyball in Palatine for club, and all they ever do is talk about their football team and what's happening, and they're so confident. Like, never seen more confidence out of these boys that they're going to beat that team.
Couldn't agree more.
Yeah, Warren was a really tough team to play. I think Palatine, if we played Palatine, would beat us this year. So I think I'm going to take – and I also think if we played Warren again, we'd not lose by 40 points again.
We'd probably win that game. I don't know.
No,
I
I
mean,
don't think so.
I don't really know what happened with Warren after they beat us. There must have been injuries.
I mean, if you look at the stats real quick, Warren had 409 rushing yards. We had 200.
Yeah.
But
We
you
just-
look at the net passing yards, 172 to 175. There's no change there. Our run defense at the beginning of the season was horrendous. I think we all know it. It was horrible. But towards when we played Maine South, we got a lot better. We had 264 rushing yards. Maine South had 88.
Yeah, but I would also say that first Prospect game, we got kind of picked apart by the running back.
I totally agree.
I wouldn't say so.
Which
I think defensively we fell short in the Prospect game.
Their
and we
running
really need to
back
step that up.
had 181 yards. Brandon Jenkins had 353.
yeah, and Brandon Jenkins obviously had a lot of big plays, but it was like every play I feel like I was watching like 10 yards
Yeah,
per Prospect,
10
10 yards,
over and
10
over.
yards, 10 yards.
Brandon,
Like,
Brandon is more of a he'll get 3 and then 2 and then he'll just explode for about 60
Well,
or whatever you need at that
Not
point.
to like be that guy, but just looking at the stats here purely, Brandon Jenkins had 10 yards of 150, or 10 rushes of 15 plus yards, while the Prospect running back only had 3.
yeah, I just feel like he was just hammering it up the middle every time we couldn't stop him.
That's what it felt like at the
Looking-
game.
Yeah, that's what it felt. I mean, maybe the stats say different.
Looking at the stats, it doesn't look like he was. I don't think there's a single stat that he was better than Brandon Jenkins in.
I feel like one of the aspects is like, obviously being a kicker, like once I'm done with my routine, I get to see everything that goes on in practice. And I specifically remember like that Maine South week and how good the practices were and how excited the coaches are. When the coaches are excited, that's how you know you're doing something right. Like they love when we exert our effort and when we're flying around, making good plays in practice. Tom was very excited. The Maine South week, he was very excited after practice last night. I feel like that's going to be part of the aspect that could make us more prepared for success come Friday night.
Jack, I want to ask you a question. Can you guys not put the tent right in front of the student section at a Prospect game? Because we couldn't see for about 30 yards. Could you guys pop it over to the left side?
Johnny,
we can work on that.
we don't decide where the tank
Well, can you
is.
give him like a thing? Because we were trying to get loud, but we had no clue what was going on, and we just based it off of Prospect's reaction.
Oh, so that's why you guys are blasting music while we were on offense?
Yeah, because
we had zero idea what was happening. Like,
All right.
seriously, zero idea.
All right, we're gonna wrap it up here. It was nice for all of us to come in, just talk about this bracket. It's a very strong bracket. It's a very difficult bracket this year. I feel like compared to past years, I feel like past years it was like Downers Grove North is like the one team that's standing in the way from us going to the state championship. But this year, you gotta challenge in the first round, the second round, the third round, and the fourth round, and it's gonna be a little difficult for us this year to make it downstate. But who knows? We'll see what happens. So. That's it for today's show. I'm Ryan Antonucci, joined by William Haynes, Jack Foster, Quentin Bursch, and Johnny Fahey. We'll see you next time.